Right now, someone has more power over you than they should. And it's not because they're smart, richer, or better looking. It's because you made one critical mistake. You chased them. Every unanswered text you sent, every call that went to voicemail, every time you showed up when they didn't. You handed them the keys to your mind. Here's what nobody tells you. In the invisible war for respect, the one who disappears first wins. Every single time. Why chasing anything immediately labels you as weak? There's a scene that plays out in every spy thriller. The rookie agent spots the target and loses his mind. Runs through crowds, knocks over carts, screams, "Stop," and always loses the chase. Meanwhile, the veteran agent, he doesn't move, just watches. Because he knows something the rookie hasn't learned yet. Whoever chases reveals desperation. And desperation smells like failure from a mile away. NCIS Rule 39 says it perfectly. There is no such thing as coincidence. Translation: everything means something. And when you chase, you're broadcasting a very specific message to the world. I need this more than it needs me. That's not just weak positioning. That's a full confession of powerlessness. You just showed every card in your hand. The game's over before it started. Let me hit you with some brutal honesty. Modern dating apps, social media platforms, every notification system, they're engineered to turn you into a chronic chaser. Scene receipts, online status, story views. These aren't features. They're psychological weapons designed to create anxiety and keep you pursuing validation. Why? Because chasers are profitable. You stay online longer, consume more ads, pay for premium features. The entire tech industry monetizes your emotional weakness. But here's the deeper layer. When you chase, you're operating from a scarcity mindset. If I don't grab this opportunity now, it's gone forever. That thought pattern is mental poison. Because reality doesn't work that way. Opportunities are abundant. People are abundant. What's rare? Someone who values themselves enough not to degrade their position. And guess who attracts the best opportunities? Exactly. Ancient Stoic philosophy had a concept, premeditatio malorum, visualization of worst-case scenarios. Not to create fear, but to eliminate it. What's the worst that happens if you don't chase? They move on? Good. They weren't worth having anyway. An opportunity passes, another one's coming. That's not pessimism. That's unshakable confidence in your own value. When you truly internalize this, chasing becomes impossible, because you understand that anything requiring a chase isn't worth catching. Identify 3 situations where you're actively pursuing something right now. A business contact, a romantic interest, social validation. Take a deep breath and release. Stop making any movement toward those things for 7 full days. Don't announce it, just stop. And when you stop, something strange happens to the power dynamic. How creating psychological vacuums controls minds without saying a word. Let me tell you about Howard Hughes. Built an aviation empire, dated Hollywood actresses, became one of the richest men in America. Then he disappeared, locked himself away, became a ghost. And you know what happened? He became more talked about, more mythologized, more powerful in absence than most men ever achieve in presence. Why? Because mystery sells. Mystery creates obsession, and obsession is the final stage of power over human attention. This connects directly to Power Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. But there's a detail most people miss. Absence isn't about physically vanishing. It's about creating a psychological vacuum so powerful that the other person's mind works overtime, filling that space with value. Let's talk neuroscience for a second. Our brains hate gaps. When something disappears from our lives, the prefrontal cortex goes into overdrive trying to understand why. It's called the Zeigarnik Effect. Unfinished tasks, interrupted conversations, people who vanish. All of it keeps hammering in your head until you find an explanation. And here's the trick. When you can't find an answer, your brain invents one. And usually, that invented answer increases the value of what disappeared. Think about it. That person who used to reply in seconds suddenly takes hours. What do? Check your phone every 5 minutes. Reread the last messages, looking for clues. Start questioning yourself. Did I say something wrong? Are they busy? Did they lose interest? And the more you think, the more that person grows in your mind. They did nothing, literally nothing, and yet now, they occupy more mental real estate than before. That's pure power, effortless power. The kind of power ancient strategists understood when they talked about control. You don't control people by screaming or pursuing. You control by creating empty spaces where they lose themselves. But here's where most people screw this up. They confuse strategic absence with childish games. They disappear to manipulate, not because they're genuinely building something valuable. Big difference. When you vanish because you're pretending, people feel it. It's artificial, forced, and eventually, they see through it. But when you disappear because you're genuinely focused on your mission, goals, projects, that transmits completely different energy. It's authentic, and authenticity, even when it creates distance, always generates respect. For the next 48 hours, identify one situation where you're chasing. Stop. Disappear strategically. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just vanish and observe what happens. Document the reactions, but attention. This game has rules, and breaking these rules doesn't make you powerful. When disappearing becomes self-sabotage instead of strategy, let's talk about the part nobody wants to hear. Because there's a point where vanishing stops being strategy and becomes just cowardice, and confusing the two can destroy real opportunities. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who became one of America's richest men, understood something fundamental. Not every game is zero-sum. Not every situation requires one person to lose for another to win. Sometimes the best moves are those where both sides benefit. And to play that kind of game, you need to be present. Not literally chasing, but strategically engaged. So here's the filter. Disappear when your presence is being devalued. When you're giving more than you're receiving. When you're the only person investing energy. In these cases, vanishing isn't a game. It's self-respect. It's you saying, my time and energy have value, and I won't waste them where they're not appreciated. But don't disappear when something real is being built. When there's genuine reciprocity. When both sides are investing. When there's potential for mutual growth. In these cases, vanishing is stupidity. You're throwing away something valuable because you read an article about high value and confuse strategy with immaturity. The Stoics had a principle called the Dichotomy of Control. Some things are under your control, others aren't. Your presence or absence, totally under your control. The other person's reaction, outside your control. So you focus on what you can control. Being someone whose presence has so much value that absence is felt. And when you show up, it's with intention, not from neediness, not from desperation, from conscious choice. There's another angle here. The world is full of people playing these power games badly, disappearing without reason, constantly testing, creating unnecessary drama. Want a mental hack? While everyone's trying to be hard to get, you can simply be genuine, direct, and selective. Not about games, about standards. You're not difficult. You're simply discerning about where you place your energy. Audit your relationships. Divide into two columns. Column A, where you're chasing and being devalued. Column B, where there's real reciprocity. In column A, disappear. In column B, show up with more intensity and genuine presence. That's simple. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment vacuum if you're ready to flip the script. Tell me, what's your biggest struggle stopping the chase or showing up when it truly matters? Because here's the thing most people never figure out. What if the secret isn't vanishing, but building a life worth missing? Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. We don't value what's always available. It's basic psychology. A restaurant that always has empty tables? Probably bad food. A person who always responds immediately? Probably has nothing better to do. Fair or unfair? That's how the human brain operates. Constant availability equals low perceived value. Now, before you think this is about cheap manipulation or playing games, let me clarify something. I'm not talking about faking disinterest when you're interested. I'm talking about literally having a life so rich, so full, so compelling, that you're naturally not always available. You're not disappearing strategically. You're busy building something bigger than any specific person or situation. The difference is brutal. When you vanish because you're pretending, people sense it. It's artificial, manufactured, and eventually, you get exposed. But when you disappear because you're genuinely focused on your objectives, missions, projects, that transmits entirely different energy. It's real, and authenticity, even when it creates distance, always commands respect. Consider this pattern among successful people. Warren Buffett doesn't have a computer at his desk. Bill Gates takes, weeks, where he disappears completely. They're not playing games. They've built lives so valuable that their absence creates market movements. That's the ultimate form of this principle. But you don't need billions to apply it. You just need to understand that every time you appear, that appearance needs weight. If you're always there, always available, always at disposal, you become wallpaper, invisible precisely because you're always visible. The Stoics called it Amor Fati, love of fate, accepting what is without desperate resistance. If someone doesn't want to stay, let them go. If an opportunity passed, another will come. This mindset isn't passivity. It's absolute confidence in your own worth. It's understanding that your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. That's not arrogance. That's mental sovereignty. Choose one area of your life where you're overexposed. Maybe you answer messages instantly. Maybe you accept every social invitation. Reduce your availability in that area by 50% for 1 month. Don't explain, just do it. Share this video with someone who needs to understand this game. Comment. Silence. If you grasp that the greatest power isn't in chasing or randomly vanishing, but in consciously choosing where your energy deserves to be. What's harder for you? Stopping the chase or showing up when it really matters? Because in the end, the invisible game isn't about manipulation. It's about absolute self-respect. This content is for educational purposes and reflection on social and psychological dynamics. It does not encourage harmful emotional manipulation or destructive psychological games. Healthy relationships require honest communication, mutual respect, and authenticity.